Welcome to Recipe Wars. My name is Lalita Lopansary.
And I'm Adrian Bustamante.
And today we're making meatballs.
Yes, we are.
My recipe is by Giada de Laurentiis.
And mine is by Jamie Oliver. So
let's watch the videos.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna get started on my meatballs before Aunt Raffi gets here, because she's gonna help me with the sauce that's gonna go with the meatballs. So we're gonna add 1/3 cup of Italian-style breadcrumbs and parsley. And what I like to do when I'm making meatballs is just add all of the ingredients ahead of time, and then I add the meat last. That way, I don't overwork it, and the meatballs stay nice and moist.
We're going to make some beautiful meatballs with spaghetti and tomato sauce. So whether you're passing it on at home or passing it on at the workplace, I'm going to give you a clear demonstration of how to do it and basically make sure you're going to make a brilliant job of it. So we've got lovely ingredients here. We've got some minced beef. We've got some Jacob's cream crackers. I'll explain those later. An egg, some rosemary, some mustard, some oregano, spaghetti, but you can use any pasta you like, really. A little Parmesan cheese, literally that much. A couple of tins of tomatoes, some garlic, onion and chilli, and some basil.
So my recipe is by Giada de Laurentiis, the beautiful Italian on Food Network. So I'm sure she is an expert on this meatball recipe. I'm using 2 different kinds of meat, ground veal and ground pork, seasoned with your basic aromatics of garlic, onions, some ketchup, and a little bit of red chili flakes. And my twist is that there is a piece of smoked mozzarella inside each and every meatball.
I'm a little scared of the smoked mozzarella. I'm not a big smoked cheese fan, but I mean, when it comes to Giada, she might know what she's doing there, right?
Yeah.
Well, with Jamie Oliver, he's got a pretty basic recipe in regards to a meatball. We have our ground beef, as well as our normal Italian herbs like rosemary, oregano. We have some garlic, and then some onion as well. Some mustard he's putting in there for flavor, salt, pepper, and then we'll be using crackers as the binding agent as well.
All right.
So we will see how this goes.
In my recipe, Giada mentions that she wants to leave the meat to be mixed in last.
Really?
Because we don't want to overmix everything. So I'm going to put my garlic in there, I have my cheese, and my breadcrumbs. And in the video, the onion, the way she uses it is grated on a cheese grater, which makes it really easy. You don't have to worry about any inconsistent knife work or anything, so that way.
You might even get a little more flavor out of it that way too,
yeah.
Just by kind of getting a little more of that onion juice.
Exactly. And some people, use sauteed onions or sauteed garlic, but this recipe, since she is baking it, cooking it even further, we use raw onions and garlic.
All right. With me, I'm going to take my ground beef and just throwing it in the bowl by itself like I normally would. At home, what I'll tend to do is make like a healthier meatball and do a leaner meat where you can get like a 95-5, which means it's about 5% fat, 95% lean meat. You can get that in any store, or obviously this one is not. We're going to get a little more flavor from the fat, which is always a good thing too. So it just depends on what you want to do at home. So we're going to do this, and we're going to take our rosemary leaves, which I have pulled from the stem and diced up already. Throw that in here, as well as some mustard for taste. I'm a little curious. I haven't ever used mustard in my meatball before, so I'm curious as how this is going to play into the taste.
Well, my recipe uses ketchup, which I thought was really weird.
Yeah.
It's Giada's secret ingredient, but that she doesn't like to tell everybody that she uses. But I can see why she might use it. It has a little bit of that vinegary taste to it.
Yeah. So we got the garlic as well, oregano, and our onion. Mine is not grated, mine is just diced. You still get that good flavor.
And we're both using parsley.
Yeah, a little bit of parsley as well. And salt and pepper.
And I got a hit of some red chili flakes, and if you want it more spicy, you can definitely add more chili flakes if you'd like.
And I am going to do a fun little trick that Jamie Oliver talks about in regards to making your own breadcrumbs at home, which is going to be a binding agent. And obviously these aren't out of bread, this is kind of a cracker, but you can buy breadcrumbs in the store. So what you're going to do is take a few crackers, place them inside your tea towel, and now he uses a rolling pin. You can just crush this with your palm. Crackers are not very tough. And it just takes a few punches and you'll immediately get these nice breadcrumbs. Now, we talked about before, it's going to add as a binding agent along with the egg, so when you do roll it, it'll just roll up nice and easy and stick together once they go in the pan.
So I've already mixed everything else, and all I got to do is finish it with my ground beef and my ground veal.
Now, when I'm putting these breadcrumbs in there, one thing I used to try and do at home as well on my own meatballs was I would use breadcrumbs either make my own or buy them from the store, but put my own seasonings inside. So if you're not already putting seasoning in with the meat, you can already add them into the breadcrumbs as well. It's just something a little bit different, just a little twist to your recipe.
And I'm just using my hands because they're the best tools in the kitchen, just to get that all incorporated.
All right, me too. I'm gonna go all in with my hands. Try and get all the ingredients together. Now you're adding the cheese to the center of your meatballs?
Yes.
Okay. Now that's something I like to do at home too, which I was happy to see Giada did, was I usually like try and add a little maybe like pecorino to the inside of my meatballs, just kind of give it a little extra flavor as well, that salty, cheesy flavor.
So I'm just about ready to put the cheese into the center of my meatballs. I'm gonna use my hands to roll it. You can use an ice cream scoop if you want, but we're just gonna kind of get a little bit messy with it.
Yeah, Jamie Oliver uses an ice cream scoop too, and I got it. You know, he talks about how you want the same size.
Yeah.
If you're cooking them all at once, you want them to all cook at the same amount of time. I've always been a big proprietor of just getting the ball, rolling it up myself, and going. You can kind of eyeball it, and for the most part, it's not gonna make a huge difference in regards to how fast one cooks than the other, unless you get one that's this size and one that's this size. Obviously, it's gonna make a big difference, but if you eyeball it and try and even it up, you should be fine.
So we don't want to roll our meatballs too tight, otherwise it'll become a tough meatball. And just like how Giada, she doesn't want you to mix the meat in the very beginning because then you might get a tough meatball.
I think some of the best meatballs I've ever had are that nice, airy, you know, really light meatball that just really soaks up any sauce that you might put on it and things like that. So, all right, well, I have rolled my last meatball here, so we're gonna put this bowl aside. I'll be cooking my meatballs in a pan where you will be baking yours, right?
Finishing in the oven.
Yeah.
So I'm finishing up my last meatball as well.
Usually what I would do is I would sear my meatballs, which is actually gonna kind of brown the outside, keep the moisture in, and then I would pop it in the oven. So this is a little bit different than I would normally go, but we'll see how it does. We're gonna pop this in the pan, he said, for about 8 to 10 minutes or so, and watch them brown up. We will be able to find out if they're done or not just by opening up the meatball, but I'll show you how to check that once it gets to that time.
My meatballs are ready to go in the oven, and I remember watching a tip by Elton Brown. He actually recommends putting the meatballs into mini muffin tins, and what that's going to do is kind of steam your meatball all the way around, and that way the meatballs also keep its shape as a ball. But we'll see how these ones go. So I'm ready to put these in my oven. So my meatballs have just come out of the oven. It's been in there for about 15 minutes, and you can see the cheese just oozing and escaping out. So it's nice and hot and ready.
It looks good. It looks good. Mine are all done. They cooked in the pan for about 8 to 10 minutes roughly. They cook really quickly, just kind of moving them around, but we're all plated up and ready to go. So,
let's try it.
all right, I'm gonna go for the
Okay.
cheese first because, I mean, I'm a huge cheese fan. Now, I'm already going into it a little nervous because I'm not a huge smoked cheese fan, but the smoked mozzarella is a really good compliment to the meat, the veal and the ground beef. And it's not really overpowering, and actually get a little kick of spice at the end of it, which I was
The red
surprised.
chili flakes?
Yeah, because there wasn't a lot of red
Yeah.
chili flakes to use, but it's a little kick. So just
Yeah.
note at home, if you are going to add extra chili flakes, make sure that the people that you're making them for are very comfortable with a little bit of spiciness.
Yeah, and you were afraid the smoked mozzarella was going to overpower it, but I think eating the cheese alone was definitely overpowering, but once you eat it with everything else, they kind of complement each
Yeah,
other.
they do. They complement each other really well. It's
Yeah.
a good, very light meatball with a whole lot of flavor. So, yeah, let's try this one.
I definitely taste a lot of rosemary.
For the recipe that Jamie Oliver put together, that was kind of the thing I was scared of too. I'm scared of a lot of things in this meatball recipe wars, but was the amount of rosemary versus the amount of meat. And I think if I would have added a little less rosemary as compared to what he said on the recipe, it would have been better. But yeah, this is just a whole lot of rosemary. When I have a meatball, I want all those different flavors to come in with the saltiness and with like oregano or a little bit of rosemary, salt, but it's just overall, it would probably be really good maybe like a sauce, you know, with something else to complement it with, but overall I'm just getting
over a bed of pasta to kind of maybe counteract that rosemary flavor a little bit.
I agree, but right now I'm tasting a rosemary meatball. So
too much rosemary and not enough beef.
Damn you, Jamie Oliver. No, it's still a good recipe, but I think some nice tweaks to it would definitely enhance that meatball. But this is definitely the winner.
I think so too.
Yeah, by far.
I think so too.
Yeah, so Lolita Lapansary and Giada definitely win this one.
My recipe, actually, Giada makes a tomato sauce with it too, over a bed of bucatini pasta.
And Jamie actually does the same thing. He makes pasta with like a really quick marinara sauce, just tomatoes and basil, which was going to be curious to see how that would have tasted too, but we just went with meatballs today.
So Giada won, I'm Lolita Lapansary.
And I'm Adrian Bustamante.
So please subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and join us next time on Recipe Wars.